Hey folks, Dale Davidson. Thank you for joining us here at the Dear VA Guy. Today we're going to be talking about Spina Bifida and specifically children's benefits that may be available from the VA. So Spina Bifida is a serious congenital condition that affects an individual's spinal cord, and it can lead to lifelong physical and neurological challenges. And for many families, the diagnosis can bring not only medical concerns, but financial burdens as well. The good news is that for certain children of U.S. veterans, the VA provides monetary benefits and healthcare benefits for spina bifida, provided that you meet certain specific requirements. Now, understanding these eligibility rules is crucial in securing the help that your family may be entitled to. So listen carefully. Exactly what is spina bifida? Spina bifida is basically occurs in the spine and spinal cord when they don't form properly in the womb, resulting in varying degrees of disability. Now, the severity can range from mild physical impairments to full-on paralysis and cognitive disabilities. And there's no known cure, but treatment options include surgery, physical therapy, and assistive technologies. So, exactly who is eligible for VA spina bifida benefits? Now, the VA provides benefits not to the veteran, but to biological children diagnosed with spina bifida under certain circumstances that are tied to the veteran's service. So we're talking about biological children. We're not talking about adopted children. His or her condition, spina bifida condition, must be tied to the veteran's service. There's three different areas of the world we're talking about: Vietnam, Korea, and Thailand, and we're going to address all of those. So let's start with Vietnam. So children of veterans who served in Vietnam, and we're talking about boots on the ground. This includes the Brown Navy, those PT boat crews that were up and down the rivers, as well as certain vessels, ships that were within that 12-mile radius of the coast, the Blue Water Navy, we call it. So you've got to be boots on the ground. You cannot be in Diego Garcia at the air base there. You can't be in Alaska. You can't be anywhere. You got to be in Vietnam. The biological child must have been conceived after and not before the veteran served in Vietnam. Don't know how they're going to figure that one out, but if your child was conceived prior to you going to Vietnam, then you don't meet that eligibility requirements for spina bifida benefits. If the child was conceived after your service in Vietnam, or during your service in Vietnam, then you may qualify. Now, the veteran parent must have been exposed to Agent Orange or certain other herbicides during service in Vietnam. So the qualifying periods, just like other Agent Orange issues, is January 9 of 1962 to May 7 of 1975. So if you were in Vietnam, boots on the ground, and you have a child who has spina bifida, and that child was conceived after you go into Vietnam, then you could qualify for benefits. So let's talk a little bit about Korea and the Korean Demilitarized Zone, the DMZ. So your duty must have been in or near the DMZ. Specifically, the VA is going to look to see if your unit is recognized as operating in areas where herbicides were used in the DMZ. So who qualifies? Again, just like in Vietnam, biological children of veterans who served in the DMZ during qualifying wartime periods, and the child was conceived after your service in Korea. So what are those periods of time? September 1, 1967 to August 31, 1971. Okay, the last area of the world that we want to talk about is Thailand. If you are a veteran and you served at, for instance, some of the Royal Thai Air Force bases, this is a less commonly approved, but it is considered a benefit for spina bifida. So some children of veterans who served on or near the perimeters of certain Royal Thai Air Force bases during the Vietnam era may also be eligible for the benefits, but you got to put on more evidence, okay? Medical evidence. You've got to have evidence that you were there, that you were patrolling the perimeters, whatever. You've got to prove that you were exposed to Agent Orange. And I'm pretty sure that if you were patrolling the perimeter of those Thai Air Force bases, you were exposed to Agent Orange. So again, we're talking about Royal Thai Air Force bases, especially on or near the base perimeters where they were sprayed. The dates are February of 28th of 1961 through May 7th of 1975. Again, I'm going to caution everybody here. Claims from children of Thailand veterans require strong evidence of exposure. What was your MOS, perimeter duties, etc.? There's no presumptive eligibility for Thailand-based claims, but they may be considered on a case-by-case basis. So you just got to have your ducks in a row and get your evidence together. We're talking only about spina bifida claims. No other congenital conditions are recognized. Now there's one spina bifida occulta that qualifies, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So as a general rule, only spina bifida claims are concerned. Now, spina bifida occulta is the mildest and most common form of spina bifida. It's a type of a neural tube defect, but unlike most, it's not so severe. Typical cases, they really have no symptoms or disability, and it's only discovered accidentally, so on X-rays or other imaging studies. So if you're a Latin expert, or you know Latin, occulta actually means hidden. That's why it's not obviously diagnosed early on. If you've got this condition, one or more vertebrae are malformed, but the spinal cord and nerves are usually unaffected. We talked a little bit about veterans, and we're mainly concerned with male veterans at that point in time, because you remember I said the child has got to be conceived not before but after service in Vietnam. If you're a female and you were pregnant, I don't believe, I could be wrong, but I don't believe that your service would have sent you to Vietnam if you were pregnant. But there's a whole list of other benefits that are available to children of female veterans, female Vietnam veterans to that effect. So if you're a female who served in Vietnam, again, there's a broader range of birth defects, not just spina bifida, that your child may qualify for. And we're going to have a video on that shortly. So again, what benefits are available to children with spina bifida from a Vietnam veteran or DMZ or maybe Thailand who was exposed to Agent Orange? Okay, there's a monthly compensation benefit. That's based upon the level of disability. It could be mild, severe, moderate, whatever. Okay, based upon evidence that's presented. That's similar to VA compensation for a veteran's disability. Okay, there's healthcare benefits through the VA's Spina Bifida healthcare program. It could cover medical, surgical, mental health, home health services, those kinds of things. There's also vocational training services in certain cases. Now, Spina Bifida monthly monetary compensation is not based upon income. It's not a means-based program like VA aid attendance. It doesn't matter about your income. Just like if you are disabled under the VA compensation program, they are considered compensation, not needs-based. So how do you apply? You gather medical evidence. I mean, I've preached this, always have the evidence. You got to get a formal diagnosis of spina bifida. You don't have to get one of spina bifida occulta. Okay, so let me give you an example of a case that I had. A child was born with spina bifida, but because of the hospital that this child was born at, they didn't have the necessary tools to properly identify the child's spina bifida. So he never really got a formal diagnosis of spina bifida when she was born. Now, what's interesting about this is that the VA said because she was not formally diagnosed when she was born, then she must have not had spina bifida in the womb. But what the VA is missing is that spina bifida is a congenital defect, okay? You're born with it. That's just kind of the arguments that we get from, or the denials we get from the VA. So once you get all your medical evidence, and of course you have to submit the application for benefits, and then also don't forget to include the veteran's military records. Now, you got to submit evidence showing that the veteran had qualifying service, meaning he or she was in Vietnam or in the DMZ, okay, and that he or she was exposed to Agent Orange. Of course, if you're in Thailand, you got to present a lot more evidence that your MOS was perimeter security, and include all your birth records, say all your biological relationship with the veteran. But your birth certificate. Your birth certificate should name the biological father, which should match up to the veteran. Hey folks, thank you for tuning in today, letting me explain a little bit more about spina bifida and the qualifications in the 3 areas. But hey, I did an earlier video on spina bifida. Go check that out. Until next time, have a blessed day.